This is Cruise Radio.
I cruise a lot, and I always sail with travel insurance. You should, too. Get a free quote today at tripinsurance.com.
Broadcasting from the tripinsurance.com studios in Jacksonville, Florida.
This is
Cruise Radio.
Ben and his wife just returned from a 7-night cruise on Carnival Liberty. Yeah, I said 7-night because he did a back-to-back, so a 3-night and then a 4-night. It went to Nassau, Princess Key, and Bimini. How you doing, bud?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk to you about this back-to-back you did on Carnival Liberty. So we'll get some pre-cruise thoughts starting out here. What made you want to sail this back-to-back on Carnival Liberty?
Yeah, we'd never done a back-to-back before, and it wasn't originally what we'd planned. We were supposed to be on the Oasis of the Seas, and they were going to Labadee, and we didn't know what was going to happen with that port. So I called up my agent, and I said, if we go on Carnival, I saw a promotion where we can get $500 of onboard credit. And I said, could they apply it to both ends of the back-to-back? And he called, and after thinking that wouldn't happen, he called and said, yeah, they actually would. So we got a $500 credit on the front end and the back end of the back-to-back. So that made it completely just a no-brainer to go do that, since we got basically every drink paid for. So that was the reason we decided to do it for our anniversary. And I think it was a really good decision from a financial standpoint, because it was a great budget cruise, but also a lot of fun ports to do.
Yeah, for sure. So did you do any pre-cruise time in Central Florida?
Yeah, we stayed with my mom and dad in St. Simons, actually, right before we went down there. So we drove from Atlanta to stay with them, and then we went from there to the port and parked at Port Canaveral, which is actually a really good shuttle service there that takes you just 15 minutes away to the port instead of having to park directly there. And we've tried other offsite services, but really the problem we ran into with them is the shuttles were so slow and they made you stand there in like the heat on the parking lot. This service, they would put you on the actual shuttle while you waited, so you didn't have to stand out there without air conditioning, which was really nice.
Awesome. All right, so you make your way down to Port Canaveral, you park, and you're at the cruise pier. How was embarkation, and how long did it take you from curb to the ship? Yeah,
it was really pretty easy. They put us, it's the same, we'd been on the Mardi Gras last year before, and it was the same area where there's this huge ramp that you go up to get to the top of the terminal, and you stand on the ramp for about 5 minutes. You walk up, they let you in and by your times when you go in there, so everybody's defined very specifically by the times. You go in, it's air conditioned inside. We spent about 15 minutes in line. The only confusing part for them was I had both security passes for both legs of the cruise, and that just threw everybody off. If I was going to recommend anybody doing a back-to-back, don't bring both to the thing, because they get super confused what cruise you're on. So you just bring the one for the first leg, and the second leg takes care of itself. After that, we were on the ship within about 20 minutes.
Have you been on Carnival Liberty before?
No, this is our first time on Carnival Liberty. Yeah.
Okay, so you walk on board the ship. What were your first impressions?
So it's an older ship. It's not as big. Like I said, the prior one we had done was the Mardi Gras, so obviously a lot smaller. But what I loved in the first impression of the ship is it has a central atrium in it that goes all the way up, right? So you can see, up 11 decks to the very top of the ship from where you first walk in, and I think that's a super cool feature. Also, it's got some of that older style Carnival decor. We did a cruise on the Elation as one of our first cruises, and it's kind of, some people might think it's gaudy. In this case, I think it's kind of cool because it's the Liberty has a very like wrought iron sort of feel to it. So like iron sconces, a huge iron chandelier. So I think it has a classier feel in my mind than some of like over the top stuff you would see with gaudy colors. It feels a little bit more I would say Art Deco kind of feeling than anything else. So it was very nice, and I enjoyed it a lot. I think the other key, like, neat feature or kind of interesting feature on the Liberty is on the Lido deck. They do sort of a stadium seating sort of thing with all the deck chairs. So it's not just a flat deck. It's like graduated up as you go towards the back. And I thought that was kind of weird until we did a movie night. And then I went, oh, okay, this is nice. Because then when you're seated in the stadium style for the movies at sea, it makes it a lot easier to see everything.
So what kind of room did you book for this 7-night cruise? And how was what were your impressions of it throughout the 7 nights?
So we booked a balcony cabin. We've got to the point, I think, where that's just like the standard that I want to do now, because I love being out there on the ocean, just hearing it. Being able to walk out there every night and being able to hear the ocean is just so key to the experience for my wife and I. We booked 7th deck on the very front of the ship underneath the bridge. So I didn't know if it would be too far in front to see, but it wasn't. We had a great view. The only thing I would say with that was mildly interesting. First day she gets up because she loves to go out there for breakfast and early, like 6:30, and I hear her suddenly scream from the balcony, and she comes running back into the cabin completely soaked. And what had happened was every morning at like 7 a.m., the bridge washes the windows.
Oh, no.
And it shoots down water all over the balcony. So she was leaning out over the top and got completely soaked head to toe by getting washed out by the essentially what is the window washers of the top end of the ship that are automatic. We couldn't use the balcony in the mornings because it was soaked. That was a bit of a disappointment, but that was very specific to that one area of where we were. Other than that, the cabin it's dated, but it's extremely nice, I think, to have that much space, because if you've been on the Mardi Gras, you know the cabins can be a little smaller, and this one felt like larger in space, and the bathroom especially felt larger, even though it had the shower curtain and not the glass. I felt like it was a very spacious, good storage. Our steward was wonderful, bringing ice buckets and glasses and pillows and everything we requested. It felt very luxurious for it being an older ship. The only issue we ever had other than that with the room was the doors. They aren't sliding doors. They're the old style doors that open straight out. So our door wouldn't really latch well. So we had to bring in the technician a couple times because it was kind of flopping open when the ship would get moving, and we had to, but he eventually got it fixed. You just had to slam it really hard. So you could tell it was the dating kind of the ship, affecting some of the latches and things like that.
You could probably tell that wasn't his first time he's had that call then.
Nope. He came right in. Absolutely. He came right in and he was like, yep, I knew exactly. He came within 5 minutes. He knew exactly what to do. He's like, yep, seen this before. So it was not his first rodeo at all.
Let's talk about the dining on board Carnival Liberty. We'll start up there on the top on the Lido deck at the Marketplace Buffet. How was the food in there throughout the 7 nights? And also talk to us about the options on the pool deck and the whatever you did out there. Yeah.
Buffet, it's fine. I would say we ate there a few times. From my impression, our first experience with Carnival was in 2018, when we would do buffets then. Comparatively, and the last 2 times I've done this, including this cruise, I feel like the buffets just lost a little bit of its edge in quality, and not necessarily, it's not all bad or all good. I would say it's just very hit or miss. Like you can have some great things, and then you have some things that you're like, man, that's just going to be a pass, right? So I feel like it's a little inconsistent on the buffet, but the rest of the dining venues that we went to were all very good. There's a deli there on the side that is, 13 or 14 different options that I thought was excellent. It was a great option, especially for lunches. And whenever the pizza line was long, the pizza line was always long on this thing. The pizza there is very good. I would say it's one of the best pizzas we've had on a Carnival ship. As far as that goes, they were cranking those things out. We also, of course, love Blue Iguana. I think it's one of the most underrated breakfasts on Carnival. So if the breakfast burritos there are excellent, and Guy's Burgers, of course, is Guy's Burgers. I mean, the line is always going to be insane. A unique feature of this ship that's not on other ships is it has an old-fashioned barbecue at the very top of the Lido buffet on the second deck. It's sort of hidden away that no one knows where it is, and it's not Guy Fieri branded like some of the other ones, like Pig and Anchor on Mardi Gras. But it has the sauces that Guy Fieri has, and I think it's actually one of the most underrated places to eat on the ship. It was very good. And I would highly recommend if people go find it. It's just kind of not open except for weird hours at lunch. And the other unique thing was the Mongolian wok that they have in the buffet there, which you can get those kind of make your own bowl things, which of course the line for that was insane as well, because they're very popular and people loved it. So yeah, the casual dining option is very good. We ate at the steakhouse on the first night as well. It's the only specialty on the ship. And I had Dover sole, and my wife had the surf and turf. We also got free wine because it was the first night, and I think that makes the steakhouse worth doing for the free wine alone. But the food was excellent. I would say the mains are probably the strongest point. The sides, I think, could use a little work. I think some of them are good, but overall it doesn't match up with the quality of the mains. The sides, I think, just need a little bit of elevation, and the desserts are phenomenal. Just really, really solid. And so we enjoyed our meals. We enjoyed our time in the MDR. We did some shared dining, so it was nice meeting other people on these 2 legs and getting to know a few people. And I would say overall the food was good, if not very good, and the steakhouse definitely being the highlight, the best meal we had on the ship.
So it's interesting. They have the guy's barbecue sauce, the same cuts of meat, but using old fashioned. It's almost like they're trying to get around licensing.
Yeah, for a guy, and the funny thing is, I work in franchising for a living, so I thought that I've never seen something like that before.
Right. And also for the main dining room, what time dining did you have on here? And you said it was good food. Throughout the week, anything really like, suit your fancy?
Yeah. So we did early because I just can't eat it like 8:30. Like we're not those people that are up until like 11 o'clock at night. So we do 6 o'clock, and we had the same servers. The food, to me, there were a couple of outstanding items. I would say the Indian food was very, very good. I had that several times because the other options may not have had a fancy for me, but I found the Indian to be very, very good. The soups were very good. The standout there would be this cheddar steak and ale soup. I had that both legs because it was so good that I ordered it twice. So I found that the soups and the Indian were the standouts for me, matching my taste.
How was the entertainment on this 7-night cruise, and did any of it repeat because it was a 3 and 4 night, like 2 different cruises?
Yeah, it did. We are not like production show people. That's just not our bag, but our comedy is. So we love going to all the comedy shows. And there were 2 comedians on the ship. They did overlap a little bit, but with the timing of what they did, we could see both the PG shows and the R-rated shows on different legs. So that made it easy to go to. So we didn't miss anybody's sets. I would say both of them are extremely funny. It just depends on how much you can take in terms of them pushing the envelope on the R-rated stuff. But if that's your bag, it was amusing. And also, I would say the raucousness level on the 4-day was fairly tame. On the 3-day, they were having to tell people to sit down. There were a few people that got a little overserved and started making a ruckus in the front.
Yeah, those short cruises are always full throttle for sure.
Yeah.
How were sea days as far as crowds and congestion?
Not bad. For a smaller ship, they do a really good job with crowd control because you'd think there's only a few areas you can go. There's basically the main atrium, and then there's the casino / promenade deck, and then Lido. Like those are the primary gathering points, right? But people tend to spread out, and I didn't really have any problem getting into the like the Grand Atrium is where they put most of the trivias, and we spend a lot of time there because there's a bar and they turn them over so fast you can just grab drinks and play 3 or 4 games in the span of 2 hours. And then we would go up to the casino level deck, and that long promenade has a bunch of seating along the wall there, and my wife and I can sit and play cards and enjoy beverages and talk to people in addition to playing casino during the day while we're out on the sea because it's open. So those are the areas we spend most of our time. We're not sun and fun people. We like to go around and do things, and they had more than enough options to keep us interested on the planner.
And the casino, was it, that ship always gets mixed reviews on how bad the smoke is in and around it, because sometimes you could smell it in the dining room down of deck, or sometimes it goes into the atrium. Did you notice any of that?
Yeah, it's definitely smoky. I mean, it's a small casino, right? If you're looking for something like if you have experience, and again, I'm going to throw like the Mardi Gras class of ship, kind of, those Excel classes. If you've seen a casino like that, they're enormous, right? They got like 2 different wings. This is just one area that, you can see every machine standing at the casino bar in the space, right? Gotcha. But I would say that the machines are like plentiful in terms of what you would want to play. And if you want to play table games, there's 6 or 7 options there. And I didn't have a problem finding a machine, neither did my wife. But yeah, you will go home that night and take everything off and throw it into the hamper and close the door and try to put it far, far away from the rest of your clothes, because you can't wear anything you wore that night the same day.
Yeah.
You'll be obliterated with smoke. Carnival
is starting to pull out some of the bars in the casinos. Does that one still have the bar in the back there?
It's right there, yeah. At the casino. So if you're at the casino bar, you are literally, you could reach out a hand and touch some of the video poker machines. Yeah. Like, it is right there. The other thing that I think would be like a little bit of a problem for some people, just down that hallway where you go past the nightclub and the kids club area, the Alchemy bar is right there too. So I think you could easily get inundated with smoke down there as well.
That's right, yeah, because the Alchemy bar is right there in the back corner then.
Yeah, it's right there in the back corner next to where the piano bar is. So they're kind of, it's a strange layout that they would put those two popular items right there in the back and still semi-connected to the casino. It's an odd choice. I haven't seen it anywhere else like that on the other ships.
Before we get to the actual ports of call, I want to ask you, because none of these ports overlapped. So what was it like transitioning, like getting off the ship and coming back on the ship, since you were back to back and you confused the hell out of the people boarding?
Yeah, horrible. And I will say that was the worst part of this cruise, right? And it's one of those things I didn't expect, because I'd heard stories about how it's supposed to go, right? Supposedly, from according to my agent, they were going to give me information, have everything laid out for me, like give me an envelope to tell me what to do. And we were on the night before we were supposed to get off, and we had nothing. I talked to my, steward, and I said, "What do we do?" And he goes, "Oh, you go somewhere, and I think it's at 8:45." I said, "Okay." And then I go downstairs to guest services. I wait in the long line because, of course, night before you get off, the line at guest services is awful. And so we wait through that. I get to her, and she says, "No, you go to this room at 8:15." So we got two different answers and two different times, and we didn't know what to do. So eventually we got up in the morning. We found the room that they were talking about. It was not marked on the map. It was actually just behind the atrium, kind of near where the other dining entrance was. And it had a sign on it that said for Diamond members only. But then on the back of that sign, you could see it also said back to back. So they would flip it around when they moved the Diamond members out. We walk in and we sit down. There's nobody there. Eventually the back-to-back people show up, and all of them have envelopes. So now I'm super pissed because I don't know what in the world happened. And the people walk in, from Carnival about 15 minutes later with all the stuff. I said, "Hey, here's what I got. Like, what's the deal?" They didn't have me on the list. And so they had to send someone else to go get it and figure it out. And they come back after that, just totally profusely apologizing, handing me an envelope. So they were very, upset about what happened too. But, when I talked to my agent later, he's like, "Yeah, no, that should never happen. You should have been told immediately where to go." So it was really confusing getting on and really confusing getting off. And by the time we figured it all out, I was just like, let's just go to the promenade deck and hang out. I had to go have a drink and calm down.
Yeah. I was going to say, because, I've only have done two back-to-backs like that before. One was coming off of Transatlantic and one was in Port Canaveral. And I've always had the envelope in the room, like with everything, what you do. And you have this little ticket to give to show the customs and all that. So yeah, someone dropped the ball there for sure.
Yeah, and the funny thing was, another lady who was with us had the same thing happen, so she didn't have an envelope either. The hilarious part of that was I was talking to her, and she was actually a very high-level casino player. In fact, on her last cruise that she'd been on, she'd racked up 350,000 points in one cruise, and she got messed up. And I was like, ooh, that's the wrong person to screw up with, because that's an insane amount of points. If any of y'all gamble out there and you know how much that is madness how many points that is.
Yeah, what is it like? Is it like $3 as a point on Carnival? I can't remember what it is. $2?
I think it's either $2.50 or $5 depending on what you're playing. But either way, let's just give her the benefit of the doubt and say it's $3. Yes, that's a smooth million.
Yeah, for sure. On this cruise, you hit 3 ports of call: Nassau, Princess Key, and Bimini. So talk about Nassau. Yep. How was your day there, and what'd you do?
Yeah, we just, typical Nassau day. We get off briefly, walk around the port, just doing hangouts. I mean, we decided to briefly go up to John Watling's, which was really fun. You can walk there. Great pina colada, great time going back and forth. I do highly recommend that if people have never been there before. It is not far to go. You just have to be willing to go up a little hill to get there. But you don't need a cab or anything. You can just easily hoof it over there and back without a problem, as long as it's not like blazingly hot. So we enjoyed that. It's a lot of fun, and I think they've got a good product over there. So it's a good day. And they give you a nice tour with it too, and a free sample. Of course, the free sample is not going to hold you. You're going to want your full pina colada.
Yeah, that's the rum distillery, correct?
It is. That's the rum distillery there, just about 15 minutes from the port.
Yeah. Is that place, because, sometimes when you roll into Nassau, the cruise director is going to say there's a travel alert warning. In your opinion, I should say, because it's very subjective, but is it fairly safe to walk from the cruise ship to that, going up the hill into the distillery, in your opinion?
Yeah, we never felt out of control at all.
Okay.
I heard the same warnings that they'd had, because they'd had some gang violence in the over the hill area. You're not really there going that direction. And you'll see other people going the whole way. And I never felt, at all unsafe during that time. It's the Bahamas,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you're always going to hear warnings, and you're always going to hear, use your best judgment. Don't go wandering around. Like I have a watch that's a very nice watch. I don't wear it.
Sure.
I switched to my less expensive watch. That if someone wants to take it for me for $50, you can go right ahead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I've never had that happen. So I don't live, going, oh my gosh, I wonder what's going to happen. It's gang violence, right? I mean, I'm from Atlanta,
Yeah. True.
I mean, you go into downtown, I feel more unsafe in downtown Atlanta than I do in Nassau. That's for sure.
True. So then you went to Princess Key. That's the one of the private destinations. They're not an island, but kind of a resort at the southern end of Eleuthera there. How was your day there?
Really good. We had some ups and downs, but it was really, I'd never been there before either. We've been to Half Moon, but we'd never been to Princess Key. And so we did a little bit of an excursion there where we took one of their guided bike rides that goes out off the property around the island to see the old churches that were there and some of the original wells that were built on the island, and got to get a little bit of a history tour, which was really nice. Took about an hour. It was a good, fun bike ride to go out to the lower level or the South Beach and back. So I would recommend that as kind of a nice little something to do, especially if you have onboard credit like we did. And they give you free waters when you do it, and it's guided with like 18 people. So it's a lot of fun. And then after that, we brought some of these blow up, inflatable like rafts type things. Like they're essentially, they have two ends of them, and you blow up each end, and it kind of creates sort of a hammock situation.
Yeah.
I highly recommend those for the ocean, because then you don't have to rent anything, and they're easy to inflate and just float out there. And on Princess K, when you get off, you can either go left or you can go right. And if you go right when you get off the ship and go across to the quieter part of that island, it's a lot easier to get out there and find chairs and enjoy yourself. The buffet was also very good. I don't normally like the barbecue stuff, but this one was actually really solid. The only downside we had was apparently somebody decided to charge $61 of Miller Lite to my account, and I don't drink Miller Lite. So that was a problem.
Was it pretty easily taken care of?
Services about.
Is it easily taken care of?
No, they said they took care of it, and it got promised to be taken care of, and then it never really seemed to ever get resolved. So I just kind of had to let that one go. Well, again, onboard credit, who cares?
That's true.
Like at the end of the day, it's not real money, so I'm not terribly worried about it. But it was maybe 3 less drinks than I would have gotten. I didn't need them.
Right? Yeah, I hear you. All right. Well, then after that, you went to Bimini, which was a first for you. What did you think of the Bimini cruise port?
Yeah, man, Bimini it's beautiful. And it's kind of weird because it's not very big. And when you get off the boat, or ship there, you essentially walk into a tram area at a very long end of a dock. So you're waiting on trams to come pick you up to take you all the different, there's a Resorts World property there that'll drop you off at. So people with excursions get on faster than you, and the people without just have to wait for trams to come by. But early in the morning, I'd recommend if you do this, get off early, because if you get caught in that kind of 10 to 11:30 crowd, you're going to be waiting, right? And it's hot out there. So we decided to take the tram over to the Hilton area, and we rented a golf cart through one of the local vendors that I'd found online, and he brought the cart to us there. And so we got to ride around on our own all day on the island there, which was super fun, especially going to the south end of the island where they have kind of a shipwreck next to the water, and the beach is just, it's the Caribbean blue of your dreams.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And then also at the south end, they have if you're a history geek, kind of like I am, they have an old graveyard there that has a lot of the original residents, and they have people going back to like 1800s to like 1940s.
Wow.
Buried there. So it's kind of a cool look at the families that have been on the island.
Now, when you say down on the south end, I'm trying to get my bearings straight here. So like, say you're on the ship and you're walking off the pier, that very long pier. If you were to go right, is that the south end?
Yep.
Okay.
That's right. That's the south side. Yeah. So if you go that way, you're going south towards that end of the island where the shipwreck is. If you go north, that's the area where they start blocking you off, where the Resorts World Resort is.
Now, was the Bimini Beach Club open for booking for y'all? Because I know when Virgin rolls into town that it's only like locked off just for them.
Yep. Virgin wasn't there, so it was open. It was an option. I'm not much of a beach club guy. I wanted to go. I'm a choose your own adventure guy. So my wife and I wanted to have the freedom of taking out the golf cart ourselves, and we wanted to go sample some of the local cuisine. So we got to do that.
Very cool. So you make your way back to Port Canaveral. How was your debark there? Now, okay, well, I should say, because we already discussed how the debark and embark was on the back-to-back, but how was the final debark?
Yeah, that one's much easier. Carnival I think does a great job with they've got this new thing where all of your debark is done electronically on your phone on the app now. So you can basically, instead of having to find where they're handing out luggage tags, somewhere in guest services or figure it out, everything is done on the app, and then they deliver the tags to your room, which is so much nicer. Like the old way of doing it was terrible.
Yeah.
So now you have an envelope waiting for you, which this time we did have an envelope, and it had our luggage tags in it. So you just set that outside. They were ready to go. They called our numbers when we were done with breakfast. We walked right off the ship, picked up our luggage, and got right to our shuttle. And we waited about 10 minutes for everybody to get there. Shuttle took us right back to the place where our car was parked, and we headed off north back towards Atlanta.
My hesitation of doing the offsite parking at Port Canaveral, because I used to do it quite a bit. And then I realized that sometimes, and it could just be at the time I think the last time I did it was like 2018, but there wasn't enough shuttles. So we were standing out there on debark morning.
Yep.
You're already in a pissed off mood because you had to wake up early, probably hungover, and just waiting to get on a shuttle to go to another parking lot. And we waited for like an hour and 15, I think, where I think we were about to get an Uber just to get to the parking lot because it was so frustrating. We never did. But is it pretty expedited now with how many shuttles they have and like in the rotation?
Yeah, and specifically the company I picked, because I used to do the same thing. I actually switched companies because the one that we were choosing before did exactly what you're talking about, and I swore never again. But the one that we picked is not even on the main island there. It's like on the second island west.
Okay.
So they're a little bit further away. They're called, I believe, Port Canaveral parking. I mean, something. They're all some variant of that. But them being a little further away, and they sell out a max number of spaces, so they know exactly how many shuttles. They know exactly what time you're going to get it, and they're running a tight ship over there. So we had no issues, and they helped us figure out how to get around traffic, because you can technically leave that way and go just a little bit north and around the kind of the Nassau area up there and get back to 95 a lot easier than just going straight across that causeway area where there was a ton of traffic.
Yeah, that's true. I think I used like Radisson at the port, that hotel there, where the parking lot was. Yep. That was like super frustrating. All right. Well, do you have any first time tips either for someone maybe who wants to take a back-to-back cruise on Carnival Liberty or heading to the Bahamas or Bimini?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing I can tell you about the Liberty that I didn't know that I would change if I knew about it was I would book in the back of the ship rather than the front. And the reason I say that is because the only things in the front of the ship are essentially the spa, the specialty dining restaurant, and the theater. Every other venue and every other area you would want to eat, drink, or hang out at is all in the back. So the majority of my time was spent walking back and forth to the back of the ship back to my room. So I would say it's the wrong location unless you want to be super quiet and you like getting your steps in, right? So that would be the thing I would say about the ship. For Bimini, what I would tell people is if you're not getting the golf cart and taking it on your own time to go out there, it's maybe like, I think we spent $120 for the day. It's super worth it to be able to just explore the whole island at your own pace and go see things that you want to see rather than kind of getting stuck on an excursion. You can do a beach club anywhere. I mean, Mexico is one of the best places to do beach clubs. For this, it was getting the whole local experience of being able to drive around on our own. Is
Bimini one of those places where you could hop on a golf cart and it's like almost impossible to get lost or miss the ship because it's such a small place?
Yeah, it's one road.
Yeah. Okay.
If you get off the one road and you somehow mess it up, you're in the ocean, brother.
Gotcha. Okay. Fair enough. Well, looking back, what was the biggest highlight of this cruise for y'all?
Yeah, I would say the biggest highlight was actually Bimini. I think we went to a place called Stewart's Conch Shack, which is just basically a pier covered where people are cutting up fresh conch every day, and there's two huge islands essentially right next to you of conch shells that have been added to over the years. They cut up everything super fresh with like peppers and onions and then a lime sauce and a hot sauce that'll just blow your face off. And you sit there and you eat this for like $12, letting the breeze blow through on this dock with two, what they called Bimini knockout punches that I guarantee if I had more than one of them, I would not be able. I would drive the golf cart into the ocean at that point because they were strong. I think the whole meal there with waters and chips and the thing and the knockout punches cost me $30.
Okay, not bad at all then. Especially for an island. Yeah.
It was a highlight experience, and the beautiful water and just being near those conch shells and just it's the whole experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in closing, your final thoughts of Carnival Liberty.
Yeah, I'd say if you really want to go on a nice, cruise to get away from it all out of Port Canaveral, that's going to be reasonably priced. And if you can get that kind of onboard credit that they put out there sometimes on Carnival, it's well worth doing. I think it scratches every itch that you would want on a Carnival cruise, right? If you are the kind of person who really enjoyed the bells and whistles of the bigger ships like Mardi Gras, Celebration, Jubilee, those kind of things, it ain't going to be for you. You're going to be missing the water slides, the boat, the bigger things that you would find on those ships. But for food, drink, and hanging out and seeing some islands and having a good time, it is every bit worth it.
How did you get that $500 deal? Was that a casino offer?
No, I think it was just, I don't really know. I don't remember exactly how it came up. It certainly wasn't casino oriented, but I remember they were doing it just for booking cruises further out. And I just happened to talk to my agent at the right time and got the offer to put it on both legs. So, I didn't think they were going to do it, but they did. So I'm happy they did.
Very cool. I've been talking with Ben about his 3 and 4 night back-to-back, a 7 night on Carnival Liberty out of Port Canaveral. Ben, thank you so much for sharing this review. I sure appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Have a question or a comment for the show? Yeah! Send an email or voice memo to Doug@cruiseradio.net.
A big question we get at Cruise Radio is, how do I know if I need trip insurance? Simple answer. If you're getting on a plane, taking a road trip, or getting on a cruise ship, you need to have travel insurance. Hey, it's Doug Parker from my friends at tripinsurance.com. Not only does tripinsurance.com protect your vacation investment, but it also gives you peace of mind in case anything were to go wrong on your trip. How do they do it? They offer 3 different types of trip insurance policies. Good, better, and best. One policy for every vacation budget. But it doesn't just stop there. They're up to 40% lower when you shop around on other comparison sites. Plus, tripinsurance.com offers 24-hour customer support before, during, and after your trip, online claims assistance, and travel alerts to let you know what's going on at your destination. But find out for yourself. Check out tripinsurance.com.
All right, Dougie, let's see what we got for you, buddy. Cruise Radio is produced at the tripinsurance.com studios in Jacksonville, Florida. Get cruise news, ship reviews, and money-saving tips every Thursday on Cruise Radio. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the show. If you want to help spread the word, give Cruise Radio a 5-star review. Find Cruise Radio where you listen to your favorite podcast or online at cruiseradio.net. I'm your announcer,